For your full enjoyment, read or listen to the end.
Soul 3 by J.N. Wdowski. Copyright 2025. Chapter 24. Faster, Pixa insisted as she looked at the sun that was low in the western sky. We cannot push the horses too hard. Dale raised his hand up, bringing the group to a trot. What are you doing? She flew to Dale. As soon as that sun sets, they will come out of the darkness. Who will come out of the darkness? Chopson asked, agreeing with Dale that they could not gallop all the way back to the river. Pixa flew to Chopson. Dark fairies. Fairies? We are fleeing from fairies? Zoop thought it was absurd that she had gotten them into such an alarm over fairies. As they continued on a trot, Pixa's wings were beating in a panic as she went to Zoop. Dark fairies. They are foul creatures that feed on flesh. Then they are carnivores, defenders of the weakest of life, Josh replied, walking alongside. Pixa, still flying backward, flew to Josh. He could feel the air her quick insect wings generated. They eat any flesh, not just the flesh of herbivores, not just other carnivores, but also the flesh of sentient beings. Brains especially. They will crack open your skull and suck out your brains. They love it when their food is still alive. They believe it enhances their powers. What powers? Dale asked. She rushed back to Dale. Flight, amazing strength, and healing powers. Much like your powers, Dale replied. They do not use their healing powers for others, only for themselves, making them very difficult to kill. Cut them. They will heal immediately. They also function best in the dark. They do not go into a deep sleep, as I do once the sun sets. That is their time. Dale did not like the sound of these dark fairies. He also did not like the idea of his men's brains being sucked out of their skulls while still alive. Feeling that their mounts had rested enough, he turned to his small group. Pick up the pace! He shook the reins, getting his horse back into a gallop. The others did the same as they also kicked into the flanks of their horses. Josh ran alongside them easily, keeping up with their hastened pace. They raced down the trail as the sun began to filter through the western branches of the forest. By the time they reached the river and where their camp used to be, the sun was starting to set. Only 4 of the men from camp were still on the west bank with the rafts, waiting for them. The rest had already crossed and set up the tents on the east bank. Dale started barking out orders. Get the 2 pack horses on the last 2 rafts with the pack boys. The boys rode over the first 2 rafts, each pulled a pack horse behind them. Once, on the last 2, they dismounted and began helping the raft's men pull the wooden lead rafts across the river. Next 2 rafts were loaded with 2 horses each. The 1 spearman and 1 of the archers helped the 2 raftsmen pull on the rope that spanned the river. As the first 4 rafts made the crossing, Dale, Chopson, Zup, Josh, Pixa, and the 1 archer had to wait for the rafts to unload on the east bank and return to pick them up. They were stuck on the west bank with their backs to the river. Dale had them all dismount. They still had with them 7 horses to make the crossing. How much time do we have? Pixa, frightened, replied, They will leave the darkness at twilight. Once they do arrive here, I will be in my deep sleep. You should have made the first crossing, Dale responded. I want to be with you when I sleep, she replied. I feel safer with you. Pixa, I will be taking the last raft across. By the time I can cross, they will already be here. How fast can they fly? It is said they can fly at double the speed of a normal fairy. If true, we will have less than an hour, once twilight comes. If they decided to pursue us, that is, stated Zup. They will. I assure you they will. For sentient brains, they will. She then addressed Dale. It is important you and your men do not believe their words. Their words are still written by the great author, injected Josh. Yes, Josh. But they are written to fool and trick their prey. Their words cannot be trusted. If you stand your ground against them, and they realize they cannot take you by force or surprise, they will try to disarm you with their words of lies. Pixa warned them all, especially Josh. 15 minutes had passed, and they could see them unloading the rafts on the opposite bank. One new man took to the rope on each empty raft and began pulling them across the river to pick up the remaining horses and men. As the sun set, Pixa flew to Dale. He loosened his vest to let her climb inside its protection. She folded up her fragile wings and placed her head against his chest. Once the sun did set, she fell into her deep sleep. Looking down at her, Dale noticed that her small, beautiful face suddenly smiled as she subconsciously listened to the beating of his heart. Once the 4 men had gotten the rafts across, the last of the horses were loaded 2 on each raft. Dale looked down at Pixa, debating with himself if he should go against her wishes and hand her to Zup to bring across with him. At least he knew she would be safer on the other side, where most of his men were prepared to fight off these dark fairies. He did not want her to fall with him, if he did. Zup gently took her and placed her softly in one of his saddlebags. She'll be safe with me. I too have become very fond of our little friend. Loading the last horses, there was enough room for all of them. The last raft was with only 1 horse, so Dale and Josh were able to join the 1 man that had pulled the raft to them. The other 3 rafts were already on their way across as they pushed off. The moon rose in the star-filled night. When Dale noticed in the night sky, the bats had returned to feed. He thought that Pixa was wrong on how long it would take them to fly here. Looking across the river, the 2 dark fairies floated above the western shore. Their skin was pale white. They were twice the size of Pixa, at least 2 feet in height. Their eyes glowed like green gems. Their faces were both very attractive, with long, silk black hair. Their large black insect wings beat quickly to keep them aloft. "Come back," the female sang to them with the voice of an angel. The 1 man and Josh both stopped pulling towards the eastern shore and began pulling back towards the west bank. "What are you doing?" Dale felt the urge to help them pull the raft back, but snapped himself out of her seductive trance. She sang again to them. "That's it. Come to me," making the raft man and Josh pull even harder and faster towards her. Dale screamed at them again to stop. They both smiled widely as they lost themselves into her green eyes. They pulled the raft closer and closer to her. Desperate, Dale went to the raftsman and backhanded him hard across his face. "Snap out of it." "What am I doing?" He came to, realizing he was pulling the raft the wrong way. "I am sorry, Major Dale. I don't know what came over me." "Focus on the east shore, pull," Dale said, as he went to Josh and slapped him too. Josh did not snap out of her trance. He kept pulling the raft towards the 2 dark fairies. Dale took hold of the rope and with the other man tried to pull the raft against Josh. It didn't even slow him. Both their hands were bloody trying to pull on the rope against Josh. "Shoot him!" the man, terrified, begged Dale. Dale drew his gun and aimed it not at Josh, but at the female dark fairy. He fired twice. She fell back as one of the bullets hit her. Josh woke and immediately stopped pulling. "What has he written?" "Pull to the east shore. Pull!" Dale screamed at Josh as he holstered his Glock to help pull. Quickly, they all pulled back to the middle of the river and continued as fast as they could. The other rafts were already making it back onto the east shore. The others on the east bank all began shouting at them, cheering them to pull harder and faster. The female dark fairy rose. Her gunshot wound was completely healed. She screamed in anger as she and the male both flew towards them in a rage. Dale turned his attention to the fairies flying quickly over the river toward their raft. As Josh and the other man both continued to pull as fast as they could, Dale let go of the rope and drew his sidearm. This time he took aim at the male, yet before he could fire, a giant fish, like the one that took Bruce, jumped from the river and grabbed him. With a loud splash, the giant fish fell back into the river, pulling the male fairy under with it. The female fairy froze in a panic, turned back towards the west bank, and began flying to the safety of the shore. A second fish jumped from the waters, also grabbing her and pulling her under. The gloomy night waters of the river boiled as the fish fed on the large, dark fairies. Dale holstered his weapon to help the other two pull to shore. The campfire seemed so peaceful after all that just happened. Dale, looking at his white bandaged hands, could only think of the one man he had lost that day. Josh sat beside him. His hands were not affected by their pulling so hard on the ropes. "Are you still with us, Dale?" Josh asked, noticing Dale focusing on his hands. Dale looked away from his hands to reply to Josh. "Not a great day." "You got the guano. Half your mission accomplished," Chopson pointed out. "I lost a man today." Dale responded, confused by Chopson's callousness. "You also saved the rest of us," Chopson replied. "This is war, Dale. Even if you win, you lose. You lose comrades, friends, and even worse, loved ones." He turned and looked at Dale's tent where Pixa was in her deep sleep. Reggie was a comrade and friend, but she lost family. Dale looked at his tent, a bit relieved knowing she was safe. "That was my fault too." Zup walked up behind Dale and placed one of his strong hands on his shoulder. "Chopson is right, Dale. You have led us all well so far. There is no way anyone could have prevented those deaths. None of us know what he will write until he writes it." Josh added, "The great author has written you well, Dale. He has not written you to be a superhero, but he has written you to be a good man, a solid man, and a man other men would willingly follow. I am pleased he has written for us to travel and fight together." "I too," agreed Zoop as he sat alongside Dale beside the fire. Chopson raised his canteen. To Dale. Dale raised his canteen. To Reggie. The others around the campfire followed Dale's lead and drank to Reggie.
Thank you. Please help support the works of J.N. Wdowski by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. For your full enjoyment, continue to the next chapters.